And I think when you're looking for, you can use any colours that you like. If you were going to make it into a landscape, then yes, think of some of these sort of colours. So if you're looking for a cornfield, that would be fabulous. The brown, even though it's a bit of William Morris, it could be trees, couldn't it? If you wanted to have a bit of water in there, do some blues, you might want some greenery, and then the sky part, if you wanted that in light or different shades of blue. So, you know, I can see that that's being fields running one behind the other. But this one is just going to be a random using a few colours that actually go pretty well because they're from a layer cake. And I thought I would use a sort of darker one to make it stand out a little bit between. But these are the ones, I mean, I love that, but I didn't think I'd get enough pattern with what I'm going to do out of that. And that deserves to be something a little bit nicer. That's one of them that I'm using. There's a paler grey, and there's like aubergines in here. I could have used that one. That one's too nice to cut up into strips. That one's pretty nice. And I think actually I've used, that one is the same as this cream one. So we're using that. And then that, oh, that is that one. But there's a lot of lovely. I've still got these on the website and they are on a discounted price still. Okay, so I've chosen those ones. So what I'm going to do to start off with is we're going to take two of the fabrics. So, I mean, I did some starting and stopping. I did some from the top. So there's no actual particular order. You just add where you want to, either top or bottom. So let's have a look. I'm going to take those out of the way. And I think to start off with, let us join. We'll do these two together. So I'm going to see these are 10 inches wide. Okay. Now you don't want to waste too much fabric, but you're going to place two pieces with both with the right side facing up. And this one here to my right is going to be, so if I do a curve here, that's going to be my bottom bit that I'm going to put on. And this is my top piece. So I could, in fact, yes, I will. So let's just, I'm going to put these all together and I'm not going to use it all as it is. So let's just lay them together. I just did, because I'd got scraps of fabric, I just laid them, just kept picking a scrap. But what I'm going to do, now it doesn't matter, I'm going to have a piece which is probably, it's not quite halfway. Let's just cut that across there. So I'm just going to use some of these pieces. I'm going to use those pieces there. So starting with this is probably going to give me two lots of curves. So as I say, what I'm going to do, this is going to be one piece. And I thought, you know, I'm going to have some that are thinner, some that are thicker, some that are wider. So now on here, so I'm going to cut onto this piece this side, and I'm just going to do a wavy line. So nice sharp blade, and I'm going down here, and across. So can you see if I pull that away? Okay, I've got a lovely curve. Now you just do that. What I might do, I haven't done yet, what I might do for you is to draw some lines and put as a PDF so you've got some ideas of curves. So this piece is waist. Okay, so we'll take that little bit away. And what we're going to do now is stitch that piece to there. So we're going to put that right sides together. Now, as you can see, it doesn't match up. Right. So let's take it. So that piece underneath, oh, I forgot to take that piece away. So we'll take that piece. That's for another. That will be for another strip. But let's just go back to the machine. And with our two pieces there. So let's put them back how they were. So you can see they match. And it is the art of stitching these together. So let's just come down just a little bit. And what we're going to do, I'm not going to use any pins. And I'm going to, as we would normally do, place these fabrics right sides together. And as I say, you can see this doesn't fit, but it will. What we are going to need is an iron and pressing mat, or have the ironing board sitting next to you, because every time we do a seam, it's going to be pressed. Okay, so I'm going to now line up this edge. So I'm going to line up that edge there. If you want to put a pin to start, let's just put a pin to start. But I'm not going to, because it's going to fit all the way around. Okay, so what we'll do first of all is just get the machine. I'm going to just, I've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to do a couple of little stitches just to anchor that. Right, so I've anchored it. Let's see if we can get even closer. So yes, I have anchored those two pieces together, and now I've got this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this piece to the side so that the edge of the fabric here lines up with the edge of the fabric underneath. So we go fairly slowly. So I just pulled that across, and you may need to lift your presser foot. And then can you see the curve is coming around here? So I'm going to be pulling this fabric and not stretching it, just moving it around so that it fits the curve. So if you go nice and slowly, I've also got my foot lining up with the edge there for the 1/4 inch seam. And so I'm just pulling that across, and you do a few stitches until you can see that that fabric starts, the underneath fabric starts to show. So now, because we're only sewing a straight line, there we go. So then we can pull the fabrics like that to make these edges meet. So you're holding the top one and the bottom one, and you're just watching that those fabrics line up along that edge. So there, I'm pulling the left one away. So that's it, like there. And I'm watching this. The fabric here is joining up with each other. And then I'm bringing the left one across. And there we are. And you may need to lift your presser foot up to allow that fabric to come across there. And then I'm pushing this one under, because as I say, I'm just pulling those two fabrics so that where the needle is meets those fabrics. So it doesn't matter if it ruches up just there. All we're interested in is keeping those fabrics lined up at that edge. And when we get to the other side of the seam, let's just lift that up. I'll lift it up with there we are. When we get to this side, it may not line up absolutely exactly, but it will be near enough. There we are, just a tiny bit there. Okay, so we're right to that edge, and we will cut. So then when we look at this, can you see how it looks rough? But then when we push it back, you can almost see that this is going to work. But when we look here, can you see how that stands up? Because it's basically puckered. Wherever there's a curve, what we're going to do is clip into this seam here. So let's just, about every 1/4 inch, I'm just going to clip into that seam. And then here, where this all ripples and it's all standing up, most definitely. So it's a curve again. So you don't want to clip the whole way across, because some of the parts of it are not too bad at all. They're sort of almost straight. So I've cut across, but saying this here, let's just clip into there, because we've got another curve there as well. And what we want when this is pressed, so I'm not going to go right at the edge, but I'm going to go to about there. So I've clipped along that piece and that one and that one. And I'm just going to get the iron heated up and, whoops, sit on my seat properly. We'll put the pressing mat under there, like so. And then I can get my iron. And then with the right side up, if we just press along that curve, whoops, that's not very good, is it? You can see my arm there. Okay, let's press it this way. So let's just press that down. And what we have is a beautifully smooth and flat, as you can see, a flat curve, which is exactly what we wanted, with no difficulty at all. It lies beautifully flat and it's beautifully curved. So what we want to do now, this was like our top to begin with, and I'm going to add another piece. So let's go back to the table here, decide which fabric we want to go on there next. Now, I probably think I'm going to go for a bit of dark. All right. So we are going to put, always remembering this piece to my right is what we're building on. So that piece is going to be the second piece to this one. So again, now decide how. You might just want a narrow strip of that. So if you only want a narrow of the one that we've stitched, you could line that or pop that on there fairly close, because we've just got a narrow bit here. And I think perhaps I will. And also, I might want if you look at this curve, I might want a curve coming so it makes a rounded. So this time I am going to cut that way. Oops, can't see where I'm going. And I'll go in. Now we don't want to go too close here. Oh yes, no, we don't mind that. And around there and around. So this piece is a waist piece. So you can see without it being stitched, here is my next one. Okay. So this is going to fit next to there. And what we will do is we will put that, and you can see again how it doesn't fit. So again, we'll take this over to the machine and, whoops, knock the camera. And we will, let's just take that down a little bit more. And we're going to do exactly the same as we did before. Oh, so we must remember to take that piece from underneath. Forgot about that again. So we've just got two pieces of fabric together. Let's take it out. It's those two. And you can see how that has got to fit together. Okay. So right sides together. And I've got a nice shallow curve there. So this little bit should be very, very easy. So let's line that edge up there. And take a couple of stitches. And remember, we're doing that 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm just going to go so that you can see my hands and me pulling this towards. So I've got this one in my left hand, this one in my right, and I'm pulling this one over to my right now so that those pieces line up, and just lift the foot if you need to, the presser foot, and stitch along there. And just make sure that's still lining up. So you shouldn't be able to see too much fabric under there. But I can see now my fabric is going to come down there. So having brought that to that side at the minute, and now I'm taking it back this way. like so. And it makes it easier as well if you pull that one along to the right. So it is a case of doing it slowly and then lift your presser foot, because this has got to come over to here. So lift that presser foot. I should do it by hand, which most of you do. Lift it, but it's good to have a knee lift on this case, because you're using one in one hand and one in the other. So just lift that around and bring that around and lift your presser foot again and around again, just so that these two raw edges are lining up all the time. Okay, oops, decided it wasn't going to cut that then. Okay, so again, open it out, and you can see that's going to work too, but it's a bit ripply because we need to do a little bit of, so you can see where this fabric, can you see there's those little ripples there? Just clip into it, just along there. Don't cut your stitching if you can help it. And then here as well. So it'd be easier if I popped it there so that you could see these little ripples. And so this is where the curve is. And that is where you need to just clip into those so that when we press, it just lays beautifully flat. And then I'll leave that little bit there. But we need this other curve here, whether it be a concave curve where it goes inwards, or a convex one where it goes out. Okay, so we've got that now, so I can pop this onto the pressing mat. And again, let's just take this here and move that over, and it will be easier if I then just take the iron. And as I say again, just push that away. The seam just goes exactly, where is my seam going? Oh, there. So it's going away from that curve. Okay. So that is looking very, 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 very smooth, and I really haven't done too much with that at all. So those are the first two that I've done. Let's have a look. Shall we bring in another colour? So again, have it sat just like that, and what we could do just as a change. Let's bring this one in again before we use another one. And, or no, what I will do, you see, this is where, what shall I do? Let's have a completely different one. And then I'm going to bring this dark one back in again. So let's just line that up there. And we'll make this a little bit wider, I think. So I'll start down here. And I'm just doing a little curve, and I'll do a second curve. Okay, so you can see I've done that curve. I'm going to lift that piece off, which is a scrap. And this one is going to be a little bit bigger. And then you can take that one away, because we might use that again shortly. All right, and we're going to stitch those two together. So let's just move that onto the machine. And as I say, you can see that is, well, you can see at the minute that it matches those sides, but we're going to put that right sides together. And yet again, they don't fit, but we will make them fit. So again, line up that very first edge, and we're going to make that all fit the whole way along there. So to begin with, as you line it up, it doesn't, it goes at an angle, but we need that angle to start us off. So let's have a look. Let's start stitching. So I'm bringing my fabric over to the right, and then I'm going to, I can see my curve is coming there, so I'm going to pull it over to the left so that that fits nicely. But as you can see, I'm not stretching it. I'm doing what I would normally do with bias binding, and that is just make the edges match up. Okay, so again, we are making those edges match up, and they are coming along there. Whoops. And then we just need to move that a little bit. So do lift your presser foot up if need be, but you can see my hands, because this hand is going that way and this hand is going that way, to move those edges together. And then I will have to lift up the presser foot at times, and that's moved just a little bit there. So it is a case of trying to keep those raw edges perfectly aligned, but do you know what? It really doesn't make a massive difference if they don't line up perfectly. Okay, because it's all in a seam allowance, which isn't, we're not making this to fit a particular length. So it's just a piece of artwork. That's it. We do want them to match a little bit, otherwise, there we are. So just finish that little bit. Otherwise, we'll have a gap. So here you can see this. So it just shows you where we need to have a little bit of clipping so that it lies beautifully flat and it looks as though you spent an age. So this probably, along this particular curve, needs it practically all the way along. Now you can see my seam is not exactly 1/4 inch the whole way. Let's see. So you can see they don't match up perfectly, but I'll tell you now, it really doesn't matter. You won't be able to see that. You'll just be able to see that those curves, once we push it out, see, already you can see that they're lying nice and flat. So, take them back over here. Well, we need our pressing mat there. And I'm going to pop the iron on. And you can see there, this seam, this seam here is going that way. So we're pressing away from, so it's like just opening up and pushing that back. Okay. And just pressing that along there. And similarly here, or just make sure that's going back in the right direction. And there we are. And I'm just smoothing across there. And there. So now we have all those curves. Don't they look easy? Nice sharp scissors. Absolutely. Oh, visitors now. When I use the knee lift, keeps lifting the presser foot at the wrong time. Oh. And it shouldn't do. It should work with it at the same time. So I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so I could, there we are. Now that was my cut from previously, what's left there. So I could pop that along there just for a change to give us a nice curve that basically runs parallel. So this is another, we've got the curve already there. So, and I want to use this fabric here as a second one, and then we'll do one more after this. So I'm just going to use that curve, same as the previous one. Okay, so I'll just go along there, and then we will take, so I've got no waste on that because I used that edge, but I am going to take the piece away from underneath, and that is going to fit on there. So again, and then I'll put just one more fabric at the bottom, and then we'll do a bit of decoration. So that is going to go over there. So we can turn it the other way up. That is not a problem in the slightest. So, as I say, again, we're going to do the same as we've done previously. So I'm just going to swivel that around so that I can get in at this edge. So here it just looks as though we've got a deeper curve there. So let's just line that up and put a couple of stitches just to anchor that there. I'm sitting on some cushions because I'm not high enough, and that's better. They just fell on the floor. So now I can see what I'm doing. Right, so we're going to pull. You can see how I'm pulling this across here because this needs to go this way to begin with and then meet that other curve there. So one piece in one hand, one in the other, just bring that over. And then I just lifted the presser foot, and there's a bit more, lift it again. So we're lifting the fabric, and then just a bit more. And that's what makes the fabric curl up. And that's where we will be clipping. So I'm just lifting that presser foot, do a few more stitches, and then bring that fabric round. And there'll be areas like this where the curve is more shallow. There we are, it just fits as we go. But then when we come to moving these two together, you will just need to lift up the presser foot and bring that around, lift it up again, just bring it that little bit more and a little bit more. There we go, and keep stitching and bring it around a little bit more. So take the bottom one away and the top one over to the right, and then almost there towards the end. Okay, so again, a little bit puckered. So what we're going to do is just clip into here. Probably easier to just hold that up. So here are our little ripples. So snip into there, like so. And then I think there's a little bit here as well. So go along there. If when you've pressed it, there's still a few ripples, just go back and give it another little clip. So you can see here, plenty of ripples, which is where the curve was that little bit steeper. So we needed to bring the fabric around to meet the edges, and it just gives those. Okay, so I think that is going to be fine once we get our pressing mat under here. And move that over and get the pressing, get this again. So again, just pressing that, and that just lies so beautifully flat. Just make sure that's going the right way there. Okay. Whoops. There we are. So just press, press. There we go. So there is our piece. And where we're working at this end here. So it may be, let's see if that one will look okay down there. Or perhaps we need, let's just make it into a, whoops. Pressing that there, let's move that over. I'll do it from this end. Okay. So, perhaps it will just be a little bit out. I'm going to put this one in again. So what I can do, I can either use this edge. I don't want it to be identical because that one, and we've got that there, but I do want it to be a little bit different. So what I will do, so I am putting that there, and I am going to make this, so I'm going the opposite way this time. So we'll have a little bit of waste, and I'm just going to go just along there, and then I'm going to come off of there and over there. So the only little bits of waste are that one and this one. Let's have a look. And let's take that away from underneath. Do I like that? Yeah, I think so. So what, I don't know if I've got, yeah, no, I haven't cut that exactly. So I've just moved that a little bit. So just to make sure, let's see, I'm just going to give this another cut because that, yeah, I'm going to give that another little cut because it's not quite how else. So I'm just going to put it on there. I'm putting it back on so that I got exactly the same. So I'm just going along this edge that I have already cut because I wanted that. Whoops. I want this to be identical. Okay, so that is better. And then that gives it, so I've got that tiniest little bit I've just cut off there and there, and that is going to fit on there. Okay. So, and then we'll have just a little bit of fun. So this, as usual, because I think you've got the gist of how this technique works. So let's just line that up at that edge. And as I say, we really don't need pins. Because we are moving the fabric about too much. And I think it would take away from this being just a little bit of a random, that's it, let's just move that across there. There we go. And you see that it just fits as I'm just moving. There we are. As I'm moving the fabric, whoops, even go a little bit faster there and across to the edge. And I think with this, the more you do, the more you get used to where the fabric wants to go, and you just automatically pull the fabric in a certain direction. There we are, to make sure it's going to lie flat. Now you can probably see here, my seam allowance isn't, well, it probably is 1/4 inch in most of the places, but if it isn't, it's not going to matter at all. And that's going to fit back like there. So mat again, last bit of pressing. So let's just pop that just there. And we'll get the iron on the way. So let's just press that out. Whoops, that's it. Just making sure the seam's on the underneath. So just give that a good press there. And more colours would be better, but you can get the idea there, can't you? So from that, I've brought myself just a little bit of wadding. So what I would do, what I would do here, I've got myself some wadding. I am just going to give some calico a press. Let's just pop that under there because it's always good to have a nice smooth backing fabric. There we go. Rather than try and iron it afterwards. Okay, so there is my nicely smoothed calico for the backing, larger than I need. And then I'm going to put some cotton wadding. So this was left actually from making my quilted hug. So you'll have things to do now with your quilted hug. Oh, look, that fits like that. That's lovely. So that's going to fit on there. And what I'm going to do, as I've got too much, I'm just going to cut that bit off the bottom. Okay. So there we have that on there. Now, as per, I always think it's good to have a bit of 505 just to keep that nice and flat too. There we go. Just the tiniest bits. Just smooth that out and then flip it to the other side. My calico's beautifully smooth. So I'm just lifting it up and giving the tiniest bit of spray just to hold my layers together. Okay. So then it's time for the fun. And this is where I'm just going to do a little bit of, call it quilting, but I'm not going to use a walking foot, but you could if you wanted to. But just to give it a little bit of added extra, I'm going to do a triple stitch. I love the triple stitch. And where am I going? I'm going to do it on this lighter pink one. There we are. Let's just move along here and just watching where my foot is going along this seam, just to give it a little bit of dimension, to make it look a little bit creative, and have a little bit of fun with your stitches. So this is probably the first time I've used decorative stitches on this machine, but okay, so I've done that one. That's already brought that to life, hasn't it? Let's do another little one even closer. Whoops. No, let's do one on this one here. Don't know if you can see that really closely. There we are. So I'm just going to do, I'm just watching where, now I'm going to do it a little bit closer to the seam line now. There we are. That is quite, so I'm trying to watch it myself without lining anything up. So I'll probably go completely, it's nice if it were level with that seam, just to accentuate the curves. So I'm just eyeballing where it's going. So nice and close to the seam. But when there's only 4 or 5 seams along here, it just makes it stand out a little bit more. And I found a thread which was a coordinating colour, just happened to be there. So yes, so I've just done that one, and it's already started, as I say, to just bring it to life. So let's just have a look here. Let's do this one here. So I don't know how big this is. Oh, this one's right, I'm going to do this one along here. My voice is saying, Trisha, you've been talking too much. Okay, so this one is this is a star, and this shouldn't take too long to go along here. Let's see what this looks like once we've done. So with this, I'm just keeping the edge of the foot in line with the curve. Oh, well, that would be if, needle up, I've got nothing there, so my thread, my bobbin must have, oh, that's it. My bobbin decided to not play. There we go. Right, thought it was going really nicely. So let's see where we were here. We were on this one, weren't we? Oh, no, I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll go right up the centre of this one here. Oh, that's better. So this this particular line was purely, it was an echo of the previous line, wasn't it? So with this, I'm just doing, right up the centre, I'm doing this star, which is quite a large star, but it doesn't matter. And I also think it would look lovely using metallic thread. If I were using metallic thread, I would, of course, be going a little bit slower to make sure everything's stitched out beautifully and no thread breakage. Yeah, placemats, absolutely. I think it looked lovely. Christmas mats. Where I got my inspiration from for this was, I think, Sweet Pea Embroidery Designs. They have got the most lovely, I think they're placemats or even a table runner with these curved, piecing curved strips. But obviously with an embroidery machine, it would be like a plique, and you'd trim away, it would do all the lines for you and embroider it as well for you. But I thought, why not give it a go, doing it in, you know, in the normal way, rather than having to have an embroidery machine to do exactly that. So, as you can see, must have a look at my thread cutter because I should think it, can you see that one there? So that's got a lovely big stitch all the way down the centre. And so that just makes it look a little bit different. Hand stitching as well, absolutely. What's making me cringe? I can see myself stitching my fingernail. No. Oh, what, when I was putting the strips together? No, that shouldn't happen at all. Let's just have a look. I'm just trying to see if I've got another fairly simple. No, that's not simple. Here we go. 2, 3. No. Sometimes it's hard to find something. Oh, I might do something on here. I always like that. So let's have a look. Perhaps we'll do it on the light one. This will be the very last one I do. But on this light one, this is going to be like a leaf design. I mean, hopefully that will stand out. But if you use a darker thread, you can see this stands out really, really well now, can't you? So it's just a case, what I'm doing is lining up, let's point with this, lining up the edge of my foot with this curved seam, and you just let the machine, you know, I can go like this. I'm not moving the fabric. I'm just letting the machine do what it needs to do, and I'm just pulling it around, or I say pulling it. I'm just very gently moving the fabric so that it echoes that curve. So when it's coming here, it's nearly getting to the other side there. So what could be nice, and I won't do it this evening, is to go back on this other side of the curve as well and just meet it there. Oh, you could make a quilt using it as blocks. Absolutely. Okay. Now, you don't need an all-singing, all-dancing machine to do this. The majority of you, I'm sure, will have some decorative stitches on your sewing machine. But for those of you that do have more decorative stitches than you'll ever need, have a little play just to use some of them, because I mean, quite often we say, I don't know why it bothers to have decorative stitches, because I never use them. And you probably think about putting them around the hem of a little girl's dress, but how many times do you do that? One of the things I did see Mary had done, Mary's away on holes at the minute, but Mary actually embroidered some decorative stitch for ties on the side of a bag. Let's see what that looks like. So, oh yes. So that because it comes to the middle, I think what I'm going to do is start and go along this side as well, so that I've got some of these coming here and some of those going there as well. So I'm going to leave it there, because it's entirely up to you as to how much or how little in the way of decorative you want to do, but just for piecing the curved strips, you can see it really isn't that difficult. You really don't have to be extremely accurate with your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Obviously you need to have an intention. You need to think, well, 1/4 inch seam allowance, to make sure that you do actually join the seams together, because if you just pull it and then there's a gap, you'll have a hole in these seams and have to go back to doing it again. But yep, sampler quilt using the machine's decorative stitches, great idea as well. Oh, you've never used your knee lift. Oh, you must. I love my knee lift. I tell you, if I move to a machine that hasn't got one, my knee moves out to the right. I can't help it. It just does that. Okay, let's just come back again. There we go. So, thoroughly enjoyed doing that. So there we are. And you can see how the decorative stitches do add to it. I need to do a little bit more, most definitely. But even with this one, if I did a lighter on this dark fabric, I could do a different colour stitch as well. But, ciao Tony, who's me too? Good bag panel. Yeah, it would be quite a nice flap, wouldn't it? So many things you can do. But all I wanted to show you that really how straightforward and easy it is to do your, so there's my other one. That one, this was purely scraps. It really, really was. And you can see how I've used light fabric, dark fabric, and, you know, perhaps on this, the one I've done today, I've used wider strips, except for that one just there. Okay. I've convinced you to try the knee lift. Oh, it's great. And I mean, especially with this technique, as I say, when you need both hands, one pulling one way and one the other, it really is a godsend. I didn't want to not use my knee lift. I tried to be pulling the presser foot up, but no. I should have I haven't done the most wonderful colour combination there, but I'm sure we can make something with it. But with that one, I've put a few more strips on there. Otherwise, we'd be all night. Oh, did you, Wendy? Lovely. Yeah. So by all means, try and think about it being a landscape, and all the colours. It could be just, and perhaps make them go very narrow at one side and just go across, and you could just keep adding whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to love you and leave you now. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Jan. Just like magic. Yes, so thank you for joining me again. I will be back on Thursday and Friday. Thursday, I've got some lovely purse frames, and hopefully the fabric that has come today was not what I expected to be always and forever. It is ready to come, but I'm hoping it'll be here for Thursday. If not, it will be done with some other fabrics. So take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It isn't snowing yet. I was just looking out the window, and just stay warm and stay safe. If it starts snowing tomorrow for you, I saw that Whitby a couple of hours ago had got snow already. Love Whitby. So please stay safe, stay indoors if it's too nasty, and stay warm. Okay, so thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye for now.